When it comes to retro gaming, I'm the guy that wants to see the original pixels, sprites, and chiptunes preserved for posterity. Even if the architecture and gameplay are ancient and clunky, there's a lot of charm left and a lot there to learn. But it's also true that a few major or minor tweaks for modernization can breathe new life into an old standby, sometimes creating an overall better experience, or even just making a classic more accessible to a new audience that didn't get to experience it the first time around. Sometimes it's about a fresh coat of paint, other times it's about delivering a retro sequel that feels unstuck in time, and other times it's just about bringing the franchise or character back to its roots. I'm the Game OverThinker, and these are the top 10 best retro revivals. Number 10, Super Mario 64 DS. Super Mario 64 had to prove the viability of the entire Nintendo 64 architecture, and it did so by more or less inventing the open-world 3D action game and making what's far and away one of the best examples of the genre ever. How could you possibly make it any better? You rebuild it from the ground up to show off what a deceptively powerful portable can do. Revise the graphics, add 3 new playable characters, new abilities, new goals, basically use the foundations of one of the best games ever to build an entirely new and special experience that in many ways was as transformative as the original. Number 9, Street Fighter IV. The various iterations of Street Fighter II will probably always be considered the bedrock of the franchise, more out of generational nostalgia than an objective appraisal of the series' minutiae, but you can't deny that the series went off in some really weird directions in the intervening years. Street Fighter IV went back to basics with a finely tuned rebuild of the original controls and slick new 3D renderings of the iconic classic characters that rewarded longtime fans who kept up their reflexes and introduced the magic to a whole new generation. Number 8, DuckTales Remastered. There's an argument to be made for DuckTales on the NES as the best licensed game of the entire era. It's a straight-up classic with amazing gameplay that really captured the spirit of the classic cartoon, and the remastered version preserved all the best aspects while adding kicked-up boss fights, a clever tutorial mode, and stunning new animated graphics that captured the feel of the series and gave fans one last chance to hear the late, great Alan Young as the voice of Uncle Scrooge. Now go ahead and pause this video so you can sing the song. You know you want to. Number 7, Kirby Superstar Ultra. The original Kirby Superstar on the SNES was in part itself already partially comprised of an updated remake of the original Kirby's Dream Land, along with 7 other games, making it perhaps on balance one of the best Kirby titles ever. Ultra added even more new modes, further updated the graphics and music while still preserving the rock-solid original construction, resulting in the perfect straddling of all ages difficulty with rewarding hardcore challenge that's come to define the Kirby franchise. One tough cream puff indeed. Number 6, Mortal Kombat 2009. Is there a series that went downhill faster and stayed there longer than Mortal Kombat? A series that grabbed attention with its gore, digitized graphics, and cheeky kung fu B-movie aesthetic, but kept gamers coming back for years with surprising depth and gameplay that provided the best real alternative to the Street Fighter clones of its era, was eventually brought low by weak sequels, bad gimmicks, uninspired characters, and general apathy for years, until a 2009 reboot rescued the whole damn thing by literally working backwards. The crisp, clean, original gameplay was back with fresh new graphics and music that had never looked better, new and classic fatalities that had never been bloodier, X-ray effects that made you feel every punch in that rarest of fighting game editions, a campaign mode that was actually a joy to play thanks to a cinematic narrative that celebrated Mortal Kombat's history in all its absurd, obscene glory. Flawless victory. Number 5, Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. The original 3 Ninja Gaiden games were 3 of the best third-party NES titles ever produced, brutally challenging but addictively playable with some of the most memorable music, graphics, and cinematic cutscenes of the day. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy gave all 3 just the right amount of graphical polish and backed them onto a single SNES cartridge, giving old-school fans and players who'd missed out a chance to slash their way through 3 of the best pure action games ever made for the price of 1. Unless you try to buy it used now, in which case you're going to pay a lot more. Number 4, A Boy and His Blob. The original Boy and His Blob, Trouble on Blavonia, is the definition of a cult classic. It's just a little too impenetrable and ambitious to be fun, but those ambitions were fascinating and commendable all the same. The 2009 remake is a near-perfect realization of all that potential in the form of one of the most visually beautiful and heartwarming games of its own generation. Everything about A Boy and His Blob, from the presentation to the gameplay, just plain works. And how can you not love a game that dedicates an entire whole button to giving a hug? Number 3, Contra IV. Contra. To a generation of gamers, it's a name that sends adrenaline shooting straight through the veins and a reflexive compulsion to hold down the B button or enter the Konami code, or both, unless you're talking about literally any of the games that came out after Part 3, in which case the only reflex being triggered is probably the gag reflex. Contra IV was basically an officially licensed fan game that mixed together everything that was ever awesome about any of the Contra games into an immensely satisfying new whole that improbably even made good use of a DS 2-screen grappling gimmick. Awesome. Number 2, Mega Man 9. Who says you can't go home again? Apparently, Capcom, since after releasing the first good Mega Man game in forever in Mega Man 9, almost immediately set up blowing up the franchise by canceling a bunch of games and driving the series' creator into Kickstarter exile. But at least we got Mega Man 9, a game that brought absolute platforming perfection that was the NES Mega Man cycle back to form without skipping a beat and delivered one of the most purely evocative retro experiences ever. We may never get Mega Man back to his former stature, but at least the real thing got to say goodbye in style. And hey, the follow-up in Mega Man 10, really just as good. Number 1, Super Mario All-Stars. 3 of the best games ever made, and one great, if not transcendent immediate sequel most outside of Japan had never gotten to play until then, repackaged on one cartridge that preserved the precision gameplay and added beautifully rendered new graphics and upgraded music to create what could arguably be the best retro remake compilation ever released. And then they made it even better by re-releasing it again with Super Mario World 2. The games that made Mario, made Nintendo, and thus made gaming what it is today all in one place, looking better than ever and playing as good as they ever did. The gold standard by which all subsequent revivals must be judged, Super Mario All-Stars is the best retro revival ever. And that's the list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell us about it in the comments and suggest other lists you might like to see. Remember to like, subscribe, share with all your friends, and please consider donating to the MovieBob Patreon to support this and other series like it. Hey gang, here's a question that keeps coming up. If your handle is moviebob, where are your movie reviews? Well, my old reviews are in a lot of places. You'll find many of them on my YouTube channel, but you'll find the brand new ones on Geek.com, an awesome site that's also your one-stop news source for science, TV, gaming, technology, nerd culture, the works. You can find all my reviews directly by going to geek.com/author/bchipman, because that's my real name, and you can get regular updates on all my reviews and all of Geek.com's other great content by signing up for their kick-ass newsletter at subscribe.geek.com. And don't forget to also subscribe to the Geek.com YouTube channel, where you'll find the videos that accompany my reviews and tons of other great content too. Remember, that's Geek.com, the Geek.com newsletter, and Geek.com on YouTube. Make sure you don't miss out on all the latest MovieBob reviews. You can also check out my own new website, MovieBob Central, where you'll find my blog, links to all my work, and shop for my books, ebooks, and future MovieBob products. And please remember to like these videos, share them with all of your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching another MovieBob production.